because your redemption is at hand. Hallelujah.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Lord, to you.
While some people were speaking about how the temple was adorned with costly stones and votive offerings, Jesus said, "All that you see here, the days will come when there will not be left a stone upon another stone that will not be thrown down." Then they asked him, "Teacher, when will this happen? And what sign will there be when all these things are about to happen?" He answered, "See that you not be deceived, for many will come in my name, saying, 'I am he,' and 'the time has come.' Do not follow them. When you hear of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified, for such things must happen first, but it will not immediately be the end." Then he said to them, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be powerful earthquakes, famines, and plagues from place to place, and awesome sights and mighty signs will come from the sky. Before all this happens, however, they will seize and persecute you. They will hand you over to the synagogues and the prisons, and they will have you led before kings and governors because of my name. It will lead to your giving testimony. Remember, you are not to prepare your defense beforehand, for I myself shall give you a wisdom in speaking, that all your adversaries will be powerless to resist or refute. You will even be handed over by parents, brothers, relatives, and friends, and they will put some of you to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, but not a hair on your head will be destroyed. By your perseverance, you will secure your lives." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise you, Lord.
In the Gospel, there is a lot of action and events and potential anxiety in the Gospel as it relates to the ends of times, or at least what Christ is talking about, maybe also the end of the temple in Jerusalem in the year 70 A.D. But Jesus mentions 4 things that we can do, things that kind of get lost in the action and the anxiety of the Gospel. First of all, he says, do not follow those who say, "I am he," or "the time has come." Secondly, he says, do not be terrified. Third, he says, give testimony. And finally, he says, persevere to secure your life. These are all positive things, right, in the midst of the anxiety in the gospel. And really, those are the only things that we can know, the only things that we can do when confronted with questions about the end of the world, or even about the end of our lives. Those are the only things we can do, is what Christ mentions in the gospel. So first he says, do not follow those who say that the time has come, who interpret, in a sense, the Bible and the signs of the times. Some talk about politics in general, or the Middle East, or Israel, and what goes on over there, as they draw the conclusion that the world is coming to an end soon, or the times are close to the end, in their interpretation of events and of the Bible. Jesus is explicit elsewhere in the Gospels as saying that nobody knows the day or the hour of the end of the world. Not even the Son of Man, only the Father knows that. So nobody in this day and age and anywhere on the planet knows it and can interpret it, right? Jesus says, do not follow them. Don't be swayed by what they're saying, what they're interpreting in their own minds. Secondly, Jesus says, do not be terrified. He says there will be wars, there's earthquakes, there's famines, there are plagues, typhoons, as we saw unfortunately just recently in the Philippines. All those things, natural disasters, things that happen. And Jesus says to not be terrified by them. I think certainly it's natural to be scared, afraid in the face of death, in the face of those huge natural disasters. I'm sure there was great fear last week as well for the people in the Philippines. And God doesn't stop those things from happening. Jesus doesn't talk about God stopping them from happening, not even to the ones who are good and faithful to Him. God's not going to prevent your death or my death. We're going to die someday on this earth before we go to heaven. But the point that Jesus makes is simply not to be terrified of death. in some sense to make peace with that, to have a deep and abiding trust in God through all things, even in the face of some scary and difficult things that go on in the world. Do not be terrified, do not be distressed. Thirdly, Jesus says, give testimony. And you can do that by your word and by your actions, most importantly by your actions, to family and to friends mostly, but with the sobering reality that your faith may cause division in your families or even among your friends or co-workers. And it's not because religion is supposed to divide a family, and not because you're argumentative in your religion or because you're preachy to others, especially in your family. You simply give testimony by doing what's right, by holding on to your faith and your values no matter what. And sometimes it leads people in our families to be argumentative and to preach to us and to be upset. But that's not our role to argue back. By our kind actions, by our patience, by holding on and practicing the values of our Catholic faith, we give testimony. It's not a matter of us, again, proselytizing necessarily our family. And so you need to be patient and loving always with others. That's some of the best testimony that you give. And then finally, Jesus says simply to persevere, to hold on in faith, to not lose hope. So live simply, doing the things that you know that you need to do, the things that you know are right in your faith. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. Hold on to your faith. Maintain your trust in God, most especially in the face of adversity and difficulty. So don't follow those who say that the end is here or I am the Messiah. Don't be terrified. Give testimony, especially to family and friends, and persevere in your faith. It's good advice not just for the end times or when we're thinking about death on our deathbed, but for every day of our lives. Something that's always good for us to put into practice. As promised last week, also been thinking about practicing good stewardship of our time and of our talent, of the gifts that the Lord has given to us, and how we might nurture and cultivate our gifts and put them at the service of God by putting them at the service of our community. So I invite Kirsten to come forward to talk a little bit more about stewardship of our time and talent.